Chapter 407. Seeking Talismans. Hospital. Qin Kai's tightly shut eyes trembled slightly, and after a faint groan he slowly opened his eyes. Hiss. He stared at the pure white ceiling above him, dazed for a few seconds, then instinctively tried to sit up. A sharp pain shot through his legs, causing him to grimace. "Captain." Hearing this voice, Jiang Han, who had been dozing against the wall, suddenly came to her senses and quickly walked to his side, exclaiming in surprise, "Captain, you finally woke up." "Xiao Han." Qin Kai relaxed his expression upon seeing her. He looked around in confusion and asked, "How did I end up here?" Jiang Han was taken aback. "You were injured, of course you had to come to the hospital." "No, I mean, what about the mist? What about Belkrand?" Qin Kai seemed to remember something and frowned as he asked, "And Molly, how is she?" "Don't worry, Captain. The mist and Belkrand were dealt with by the special team," Jiang Han said with a smile. "Molly's injuries were serious, but she's fine now. She woke up last night and is in the next room. Zheng Zheng and the others are downstairs handling your hospitalization paperwork and should be back soon." "Special team." Qin Kai was puzzled for a moment. "Is it the Phoenix team? Are they okay?" "It's not the Phoenix team." Jiang Han hesitated. "Then it's the Mask team?" Qin Kai breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness it wasn't the Phoenix team. Otherwise things would have been troublesome. Just as the two were conversing, four figures walked in from outside. Upon seeing Qin Kai sitting on the bed, joy spread across their faces. The girl called Zheng Zheng quickly stepped forward and placed a delicate fruit basket beside the hospital bed. "Captain, we bought some fruit for you from the store downstairs. If you feel like eating, you can have some." Her voice was gentle like a spring breeze, making it very pleasant to hear. "Thank you." Qin Kai smiled and turned to Jiang Han. "By the way, you were saying what happened with the Mask team?" "Captain, it wasn't the Mask team that came either." Jiang Han scratched her head. Although they were wearing masks, they were all themed around Journey to the West, which is different from the Mask team. Masks themed around Journey to the West? Qin Kai was stunned for a long time before reacting. "I've never heard of any special team wearing Journey to the West masks." "It's true, Captain." A thin team member couldn't help but speak up. "When we were under mental control, we encountered them. One was wearing a Red Boy mask and another was wearing a Sha Monk mask. Their strength was very impressive, and they were from a forbidden area we had never seen before. Zheng Zheng was even molested by that perverted pig ring." Qin Kai turned to Zheng Zheng in surprise. Zheng Zheng's face turned slightly red as she frowned and thought for a moment. "Actually, it didn't really count as molestation. It was just that the way they tied me up was a bit strange." "Tied up like that and it's not called molestation?" The thin man was indignant. "That pig ring clearly isn't a decent person. If I see him again, I'll definitely teach him a lesson." "No, the most outrageous one was that Red Boy." Sun Luan, with one hand in a cast, leaned against the wall as if recalling something, his eyes filled with fear. "I was knocked out and lying on the ground and she actually twisted my arm off. It was just too brutal." Qin Kai fell into deep thought. "There was also a boy inside who wasn't wearing a mask and he was very strong," Chen Haoren said seriously while standing by the hospital bed. "He seemed to only be at the Chuan level, but he single-handedly killed Balkrand. I saw it with my own eyes." "A boy who can single-handedly kill Balkrand at the Chuan level? Where did such a powerful group come from?" Qin Kai frowned. "By the way, Captain, there's one more thing." Jiang Han seemed to remember something and took a tablet out of her bag, handing it to Qin Kai. "After the mist dissipated yesterday, the cleanup team went in to clear the battlefield and found a black spray-painted mark in the center of the largest intersection in front of Gusuhart." Qin Kai took the tablet and saw a photo taken from a high angle. In the center of the intersection, a large black circle had appeared at some point, divided by two straight lines, looking extremely mysterious. "We checked the surveillance footage in that area and found that this was left by that special team," Jiang Han said. "After they finished drawing this pattern, they drove away in an old black van." "An old van?" Qin Kai was taken aback. "What kind of special team drives a van?" "We checked the license plate of that vehicle and found it was a fake, making it impossible to trace. The van disappeared from the surveillance footage after driving 2 blocks and never reappeared." Qin Kai stared at the pattern for a long time, sighed deeply and handed the tablet back to Jiang Han. No matter who they are, since the Belkrand incident has been resolved, that's the best outcome. Record all of this and report it to the higher-ups. Let them handle everything. Understood. Ding. 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 In the suburbs of Gusu, an ancient and solemn temple echoed with the melodious sound of bells. A gentle breeze carried golden ginkgo leaves, slowly falling to the ground. Tourists held bundles of incense, looking up at the Buddha statue in the center of the temple, making sincere wishes and bowing gently. The curling smoke rose in the temple, seemingly capable of purifying all worldly restlessness. Amidst the chanting, the mind became as tranquil as this ancient temple beyond the world. Benefactor, may I ask what you need? A monk stood at the wooden counter, hands clasped together, speaking softly. Outside the counter, a chubby man scratched his head. Do you sell peace charms here? We do. The monk took out several red-patterned charm bags from the counter and arranged them on the table. We have family peace charms, career peace charms, longevity peace charms. Benefactor, which one would you like? The chubby man looked at the array of charm bags, his expression hesitating. It seems like there are quite a few. Hanging it on my wrist doesn't look as good as a Rolex. The monk was taken aback. Benefactor, if you think this isn't suitable, why not directly buy a specialty of this temple, the sandalwood peace charm? He took out a wooden piece emitting a faint sandalwood fragrance, about the size of half a palm, with a string of small Buddha beads attached which could be hung anywhere. This sandalwood has been blessed by the high monks of this temple, and its effectiveness is better than those charm bags. Moreover, you can engrave the name of the person you wish to gift it to on the back, and on the front, you can engrave a wish of yours, such as health and longevity, protection from evil, or continuous success. Bai Li, the chubby man, took the sandalwood peace charm and examined it for a long time, nodding in satisfaction. This is nice. By the way, can I engrave multiple wishes? Benefactor, being greedy leads to insincerity. Without saying a word, Bai Li pulled out a thick stack of cash from his pocket and spread it out on the counter. Make me 20. Chapter 408, The Fat Brother. After a while, Bai Li Pang walked out of the temple, happily holding 2 sandalwood talismans. Chao Yuan, who was leaning against the wall out of boredom, raised an eyebrow when he saw him come out. You finished so quickly? Where are the talismans? Let me see. Here. Bai Li Pang handed over the 2 talismans, grinning as he placed his hands on his hips. With these, my dad's second half of life will definitely be smooth sailing, free from all evils. Chao Yuan looked down at the sandalwood plaques in his hand. On the back, the name Bai Li Exen was neatly carved in large characters. Turning it over, he saw a jumble of inscriptions on the front. Step by step rising, long life, everything goes smoothly, wealth and prosperity, evil spirits retreat, calm and peaceful. Looking at the dazzling carvings, Chao Yuan's mouth twitched uncontrollably. What's wrong? Are these talismans no good? Bai Li Pang noticed Chao Yuan's strange expression and asked with some concern. You're the expert on this, so if they're not good, just tell me and I'll go back and have him exchange them. These talismans are quite good. Chao Yuan held back for a moment before slowly speaking. That's great. Bai Li Pang cheerfully put the 2 talismans into his pocket. One for Mo Li and one for my dad, perfect. He glanced around and noticing only Chao Yuan and An Qingyu asked curiously, by the way, where are Qi Yi and Sister Lan? Just now, Jia Lan dragged Qi Yi to buy some incense over there, and Qingyu pointed in a direction. Over there. Bai Li Pang looked toward the distant temple, scratching his head. Did they go to pray? Seems like it, Chao Yuan nodded. With Qi Ye's personality, he probably wouldn't go to pray, so it must be Sister Lan who's praying. Bai Li Pang seemed to realize something, turning back to exchange a glance with Chao Yuan, and their expressions suddenly became strange. A few minutes later, Lin Qiyi returned with a dejected Jialan. Qiyi, where did you guys go? Bai Li Pang asked. Jialan said she wanted to burn some incense, so she asked me to accompany her. Lin Qiyi replied calmly. Oh, did you burn some too? No, I just watched her. What wish did she make? Bai Li Pang asked tentatively. Lin Qiyi pondered for a moment. I don't know what wish she made, but just as she was about to bow, the incense went out, 3 times. Bai Li Peng Peng. Bai Li Peng Peng turned to look at the downcast Jiaolon and sighed silently. Where to next? Chao Yuan asked. Bai Li Peng Peng's eyes lit up slightly. Let's go to the hospital to see Mo Li. And I'll drop off the talisman. And Qing Yu shrugged. You guys go ahead, I have experiments to do back home. I'm not going either, Lin Qi said. Someone from Team 017 has seen my face. If I go I'll be recognized. You guys go and say hi to Mo Li for me. All right. Bai Li Peng Peng turned to Chao Yuan and Jiaolon. Then it's just the 3 of us. At the hospital. Outside Mo Li's hospital room. A thin man, Sun Luan and Qian Haoran were sitting on a bench chatting idly. You guys think those people wearing the Journey to the West masks are really a special team? Sun Luan couldn't help but ask. They're always taking advantage and breaking arms. They feel more like bandits. Whether they're bandits or not, they're definitely perverts, the thin man said firmly. Honestly, I think our levels are about the same, but for some reason, they just seem stronger than us, Qian Haoran sighed. Maybe they're the so-called geniuses. Genius male perverts. Genius arm breakers. The thin man and Sun Luan exchanged glances and high-fived, reaching a consensus. Just then 3 figures slowly walked down the corridor. Bai Li Peng Peng walked while looking at the sign on the door, making his way to Mo Li's room and reached out to knock. Wait. Sun Luan suddenly spoke up. He stood up and scrutinized the 3 for a moment. Who are you? Oh, we're friends of Mo Li, Bai Li Peng Peng said, recognizing him and breaking into a smile. We heard she was injured and came to visit her. Upon hearing this, Sun Luan and the others exchanged puzzled glances. When did Mo Li have friends in Suzhou? Then you guys wait outside, she's changing her dressing inside, Sun Luan said. Okay. Bai Li Peng Peng politely nodded and sat down on a bench opposite Sun Luan and the others with Jiaolon and Chao Yuan. The 6 people's gazes collided and the air fell into silence. Seemingly sensing the awkward atmosphere, the thin man smiled politely, while Chao Yuan and the others silently watched the 3 opposite them, their faces breaking into bright smiles. Hey, why do I feel like they look a bit familiar? Sun Luan leaned closer to Qian Haoran and whispered. I don't know, Qian Haoran replied, confused. I've never seen them before. Are you overthinking it? Sun Luan suspiciously glanced at them. Maybe. Don't say that. Now that you mention it, I do feel they look a bit familiar, the thin man quietly said. Especially that fat guy. That fat guy is fine, but I think that girl looks a bit familiar. Forget it. You think every girl looks familiar. True. By the way, let me tell you, that perverted arm-breaking girl has some serious strength. Just one twist and my arm was broken. I wonder what she looks like under that mask. With that kind of strength, she's probably a burly woman with a face full of stubble, right? Not necessarily. Maybe she was originally a guy, just with overly developed pecs. That makes sense. The whispers of the 3 on the opposite side were clearly heard by Bai Li Peng Peng and the others. Bai Li Peng Peng quietly turned his head and saw Jiaolon with a smile at the corner of her mouth, quietly watching the 3 converse, her grip on the armrest tightening, leaving fingerprints on the stainless steel. Bai Li Peng Peng swallowed hard and quickly stood up. Hey brothers, I see you're all locals from Suzhou, right? Come, a little gift, just a token of respect. Bai Li Peng Peng pulled out 3 Rolex watches from his pocket and walked over to the 3 with a smile. 3 minutes later. Mo Li, you just rest well. I'm heading out now. Xing waved goodbye to Mo Li, who was lying on the hospital bed, and pushed the door open to leave. As soon as she stepped into the corridor, she froze in place. She saw Sun Luan and the others gathered around a familiar fat guy, laughing heartily, patting each other on the shoulders and chatting animatedly. Fat brother. Let me tell you, for a while I had a misunderstanding about fat people, but seeing you today made me realize that I was being biased and judging by appearances. After all, there are still many good people in this world. The thin man wearing a shiny Rolex on his wrist said with renewed spirit. Chapter 409, Agreement. Bai Li Peng Peng saw Xing walking out of the room, turned back to wave at his 3 good brothers, and then walked straight into the hospital room. Xing frowned, carefully examining his profile as he passed by, a look of confusion appearing in her eyes. Bang! Bai Li Peng Peng entered the room and locked the door behind him. Zheng looked at Sun Luan and the other two sitting in chairs with a strange expression. Who is he? Oh, he seems to be a friend of Molly's, Sun Luan explained, thinking for a moment before adding. He's quite generous. When Molly saw Bailey Pang Pang walk into the room, she was momentarily taken aback. Then a helpless smile appeared on her face. You really dare to come here? They're still outside. Aren't you afraid they'll recognize you and beat you up? Let them beat me up. Even if they break my legs, I'll still come to see you in a wheelchair, Bailey Pang Pang replied with a smile. Upon hearing this, Molly's cheeks flushed slightly, and she instinctively turned her face away. Molly, I have a gift for you. Bailey Pang Pang walked to the bedside, sat down and pulled out a beautifully wrapped gift box from his pocket, presenting it to Molly. Molly looked at the gift box, her expression turning strange. It wouldn't be a Rolex or something, would it? No, just open it and see. Bailey Pang Pang waved his hands repeatedly. Molly unwrapped the gift box and in the center, carefully wrapped in a sponge layer, was a heavy sandalwood amulet. She was momentarily stunned and looked up at Bailey Pang Pang. I went to the temple today and specially asked for this amulet for you, Bailey Pang Pang chuckled. I tell you, to get that monk to carve me a few more wishes, I really had to talk a lot. This one, there are only 2 in all of Daxia, and this is the only one with your name on it. Looking at Bailey Pang Pang's smile, Molly felt a bit dazed. She lowered her head to take out the heavy wooden plaque and saw that the front was densely engraved with wishes, like ants crawling all over. Peace for all generations, always happy, youth forever, all evils retreat. She stared blankly at the sandalwood amulet in her hand, and after a long while she turned it over to see that the back was neatly engraved with 4 big characters. Molly wife. These 4 characters were not entirely the same. The top 2 characters, Molly, were carved with a chisel, each stroke precise and clean, clearly the work of a calligraphy master. In contrast, the 2 characters wife, below, were obviously written with a black marker, the strokes crooked and awkward, resembling the handwriting of an elementary school student. Compared to the top 2 characters, it was quite an eyesore. Who is your wife? Molly put down the wooden plaque and shot Bailey Pang Pang a fierce glare, speaking angrily. Ah, don't mind the details, Bailey Pang Pang chuckled foolishly, trying to brush it off. I asked that monk to carve those 4 characters, but he absolutely refused. In the end, he only carved Molly, and I wrote the other 2 myself. Unnecessary, Molly said, embarrassed and annoyed, and punched Bailey Pang Pang in the chest. Her strength wasn't great, but with the added emotion it wasn't light either. Bailey Pang Pang took the punch and couldn't help but bend over and cough twice. Then while rubbing his chest he continued to smile at Molly. So how about it? Do you like this gift? Molly huffed. If you remove the 2 characters wife, it would be acceptable. Since it's written with a pen, if you really don't like it, just erase it. Bailey Pang Pang said with a hint of grievance. That would be better. Since you like this unique gift from all of Daxia as a return gift, can you promise me one condition? Bailey Pang Pang leaned in closer with a mischievous grin. What condition? The day after tomorrow is my dad's birthday, and I need to go back to celebrate with him, Bailey Pang Pang said with a smile. You come back with me, and after the birthday celebration I'll introduce you to my dad. Impossible. Molly decisively refused. There's no way I'm meeting your dad. After saying that, Molly hesitated for a moment and added softly, if it's just to play in Guangzhou and Shenzhen, I might consider it. Then it's settled. Bailey Pang Pang stood up excitedly. You come back with me to Guangzhou and Shenzhen, and I'll make sure you have a great time for a few days. Molly looked at Bailey Pang Pang with a strange expression, feeling like she was falling into a trap. I need to recover, so I can't go back with you. Molly glared at him and said, on the day after your birthday I'll fly to Guangzhou and Shenzhen myself, and I'll go and come back on the same day. Hearing this, Bailey Pang Pang sighed in disappointment. If you don't want to, then I won't go. Don't. Then it's settled. Bailey Pang Pang was afraid Molly would change her mind. That day, remember to come find me in Guangzhou and Shenzhen early. I promise to take you out and have a great time before sending you back. Molly looked into his eyes, the corners of her mouth slightly lifting. Okay. In a rental house in a suburban area of Suzhou, Lin Chia was observing Yin Qingyu, who was busy setting up the dissection table, and couldn't help but ask. So, after dissecting the 10-cut ghost child, you gain the ability to create clones? And Qingyu thought for a moment. I can't say it's an ability. I can only say I've mastered the means to create clones. However, there are many limitations. To create a clone, I need to use a lot of scientific equipment. It's not something I can do anywhere, and making each clone takes a long time. Also, since I don't have the means to split my consciousness, I can only transfer my complete consciousness into one clone, which means I can only control one body at a time. That's still quite impressive, Lin Chia remarked. No wonder you said you couldn't be trapped in the fasting place. It turns out you were just a clone there. And Qingyu looked up at Lin Chia and smiled shyly. So, is the one here now one of your clones, or your main body? Lin Chia asked again. You guess. And Qingyu smiled. I think I already have the answer, Lin Chia said with a wry smile. By the way, you brought the body of Belle Crandall, right? And Qingyu seemed to remember something, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Can you dissect it for me first? Lin Chia's mouth twitched slightly and he sighed deeply as he handed the body of Belle Crandall to Qingyu, seriously reminding her. Remember to return it to me after the dissection. I still have use for it. Understood. Chapter 410 Missiles. The morning sunlight spilled onto the dark asphalt road, the traffic lights flickered, and with the roar of engines the flow of cars on the road slowly moved. A black van gradually pulled up in front of a tall building. Are you really in such a hurry? Can't you wait a couple more days and go with us? Lin Chia, sitting in the passenger seat, turned to look at Bai Li Pangpang in the back seat. Bai Li Pangpang sighed. The day after tomorrow is Grandpa's birthday banquet. As the sole heir, I definitely need to head back early. Those distant relatives and representatives from other groups and big families are all important figures that I need to personally entertain. There's still a lot to prepare for the banquet. Chow Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. Why does it sound like you're looking forward to it? Hee, after all, it's my first time hosting such a big event. In the past, these things were all arranged by my dad, Bai Li Pangpang replied with a smile. Lin Chia nodded. All right, then you go ahead. The joining items for Jialon and the Bao sent for repairs won't arrive until tomorrow night, and Qingyu's experiment will also take some time. We'll meet you directly at the banquet the day after tomorrow. Lin Chia reached back to pat his shoulder. Remember to dress sharp then. Don't worry. No one understands fashion better than I do, Bai Li Pangpang chuckled. Bai Li Pangpang pulled out 4 envelopes with a black background and golden patterns from his pocket and handed them to the others. The envelopes had a slightly frosted texture, made of an unknown material, and under the sunlight, they emitted a faint golden glow, looking high-end and formal. In the corner of the envelope was stamped the Bai Li Group's seal. This is the invitation to the birthday banquet. With this you can go straight in when the time comes, Bai Li Pangpang said. Just wait until you get to Guangshan and enjoy the ultra-luxurious leisure package I've arranged for you. After saying that, he glanced at the time, hurriedly opened the car door and got out. I'm off now, see you at the banquet. Bai Li Pangpang waved at the car and turned to walk into the building. About 2 minutes later, a helicopter flew in from the distance, slowly landing on the rooftop helipad of the building, and then Bai Li Pangpang disappeared from everyone's sight. Lin Chia watched the helicopter leave and withdrew his gaze. The Bai Li Group, huh? Chow Yuan opened the envelope from the driver's seat and took out an invitation. After reading it from start to finish, he sighed. This birthday banquet looks quite high-end. The attendees are either group CEOs or social elites. Should we also dress formally? Lin Chia thought for a moment. We probably should. Do you have formal attire? No, Chow Yuan shook his head. Jialon in the back seat also shook his head in confusion. Lin Chia sighed. Let's go, we'll stop by the mall and each pick out a formal outfit. After hesitating for a moment, he added, keep the receipts. When we get to Guangshan, let Bai Li Pangpang reimburse us. Vroom vroom vroom. With a buzzing sound, the helicopter slowly landed, the cabin door opened, and the wind from the spinning blades blew Bai Li Pangpang's hair wildly. He took off his ear protection, pulled out a pair of sunglasses from his pocket, and walked steadily toward another open area where a private jet was quietly parked on the runway. Good morning, young master. A beautiful woman in uniform beside the private jet flashed a sweet smile and slightly bowed. Bai Li Pangpang, wearing sunglasses, nodded slightly, his gaze landing on the uniformed woman. He paused for a moment, somewhat puzzled, and asked, Who are you? I'm your new private flight attendant, The uniformed woman smiled and said, "You can call me Xiao Su." "Oh, Xiao Su." Bai Li Pang Pang nodded and stepped directly onto the plane, with Xiao Su following closely behind and shutting the cabin door. The interior of the plane was spacious, even with a full set of genuine leather sofas, a long business table and a bar area. There was still ample room to move around, looking grand and high-end. Bai Li Pang Pang lay back on the leather sofa, letting out a comfortable groan. Not long after, the plane took off along the runway, experiencing a slight bump as it soared into the clouds, heading straight for Guangshan City. Once the plane stabilized, Xiao Su walked up to Bai Li Pang Pang with a specially crafted cocktail and placed it on the table with a smile. "By the way, is this my dad's new private jet?" Bai Li Pang Pang looked around, nodding in satisfaction. "Compared to the previous ones, this one is indeed much nicer." "No, this is young Master Jing's plane," Xiao Su gently explained. "Bai Li Jing." Bai Li Pang Pang was taken aback. How did he get a private jet? It's said that young Master Jing has been managing the group quite well recently, and the chairman rewarded him with it. Bai Li Pang Pang frowned slightly, took a sip of the cocktail and spoke with some frustration. "I don't even have a private jet, and this kid managed to get one before me. When I get back, I'll probably be mocked by him again." Bai Li Jing was Bai Li Pongpong's father, Bai Li Xian's adopted son, and was the same age as Bai Li Pang Pang. However, unlike the idol Bai Li Pang Pang, this adopted son of the Bai Li family was exceptionally intelligent from a young age. After reaching adulthood, he was quietly placed in the grassroots of the Bai Li group by Bai Li Xian, starting as an inconspicuous employee. With his sharp mind and exceptional business talent, he quickly climbed the ranks within the Bai Li group, and when his identity was revealed, it caused a stir within the group, earning him a loyal following. Because of his experience starting from the bottom, Bai Li Jing's understanding of the Bai Li group was on par with Chairman Bai Li Xian, which is why the latter often entrusted him with various group affairs, gradually building his own network. When Bai Li Pang Pang inherited the Bai Li group, Bai Li Jing was assigned to manage the company on his behalf. The profits young Master Jing has generated for the group are worth much more than a private jet, Xiao Su said with a smile. Bai Li Pang Pang opened his mouth about to say something, when the scene before him suddenly blurred. "What is this?" Bai Li Pang Pang reached out to steady his swaying body, his brow furrowing tightly. He looked at the cocktail on the table and then up at the smiling, silent Xiao Su. "Did you drug me?" "I'm sorry, young master," Xiao Su said apologetically. "We can't let you return to Guangshan alive." Whoosh! A missile trailing a long flame streaked across the sky, accurately striking the high-speed private jet amidst the layered clouds. A blinding flash of fire erupted in midair. Chapter 411, The Resolute Prince. The Psychiatric Hospital of the Gods. Kill. Flash. Zhuge crossbow. Burn the bridge after crossing it. In the activity room, Li Yifei glared at the opposing Brocky and couldn't help but say, "It's my turn now. You can't use burn the bridge after crossing it on me." Brocky scratched his head in confusion. "Then when can I use it?" "Use it when it's your turn." "Oh," Brocky pondered for a moment, then moved the burn the bridge after crossing it card in front of Merlin and seriously declared, "Burn the bridge after crossing it." Li Yifei. "Your Excellency, did you see that? He actually wants to use burn the bridge after crossing it on you. He's definitely a rebel." Li Yifei leaned closer to Merlin, indignantly saying, "Let this loyal minister protect you and eliminate this audacious traitor." Merlin glanced at him. "He's just an internal traitor. You are the real rebel." Li Yifei was taken aback. "How do you know?" Merlin calmly replied, "Because I am the seer." Li Yifei. Dressed in a white lab coat, Lin Chia arrived at the entrance of the activity room and saw Nikes, Merlin, Brocky, Li Yifei and a Zhu gathered around the table, seriously playing a game of Three Kingdoms Kill. He couldn't help but twitch his mouth slightly. "You guys are playing an increasingly rich game," Lin Chia remarked. "Playing Do Diju with 3 people, Mahjong with 4 and now Three Kingdoms Kill with 5? Upon seeing Lin Chia, Li Yifei's eyes lit up. "Chia, want to join us for a bit?" Lin Chia waved his hand. "You guys play. I have important matters to attend to." Lin Chia turned and left the activity room, heading straight for the director's office. Seeing Lin Chia leave, Merlin leisurely drew a card from his hand and tossed it onto the table, calmly stating, "Unassailable." In the underground prison. In a certain cell deep within, a golden little bug lying on the ground seemed to sense something. Its wings slightly opened and it cautiously moved a bit towards the wall, displaying an expression as if facing a great enemy. Tap tap tap. Steady footsteps echoed from afar. Lin Chia, wearing black-framed glasses with his hands in the pockets of his lab coat, slowly stopped in front of the cage, his gaze landing on the golden little bug in the corner of the cell. "Long time no see, Belcrand," Lin Chia said calmly. The golden little bug pressed against the wall, its body slightly hunched, its wings fluttering, emitting a buzzing sound as if warning of something. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed slightly, then as if recalling something he said, "I forgot you can't speak. Wait for me here for a moment." Thus under Belcrand's gaze Lin Chia quickly left the cell. About a minute later he returned holding a half-dead pug. The pug's eyes were glazed over and it had a large bump on its head as if it had just been beaten up. Faint strange sounds could still be heard coming from its throat. "Yamit, butterfly." Lin Chia walked to the front of the cell and tossed the pug into the cage, landing right in front of Belcrand. "Use its vocal cords," Lin Chia instructed. Belcrand looked at the half-dead pug in front of it, then raised its gaze to Lin Chia, wearing an expression that seemed to say, "Are you kidding me? It's a dog. How can it speak human language?" Under Lin Chia's watchful gaze, Belcrand reluctantly crawled onto the pug's tongue, wisps of mist emanating from its body, invading the pug's brain. In the next moment the pug, transformed by the murmuring avatar, suddenly stood up from the ground, turned to Lin Chia, its eyes filled with disdain and its mouth slightly opened. "Are you stupid? How could a dog possibly speak human language?" As soon as the sentence was finished, the dog was stunned. The golden little bug lay on the pug's tongue, lost in thought. Lin Chia watched this scene with a slight smile. If it were an ordinary dog, it certainly couldn't speak human language, but this pug was personally crafted by Merlin using the Murmuring Soul avatar. It was proficient in chicken language, duck language, and goose language. How could it not speak human language? "Now we can have a good chat." Lin Chia leaned against the railing of the opposite cell, hands in his pockets, and spoke leisurely. The pug frowned, though it didn't actually have a brow. "What do you want to talk about?" Lin Chia pointed at it. "Let's talk about what you're willing to give for your life. You should know very well that here I am the one who controls the rise and fall of your soul. Either show me your value or be obliterated." After hearing this, the pug fell silent as if contemplating something. It was thinking, and so was Lin Chia. What exactly can this bug do? Cooking and cleaning? That's impossible. Making old men and women happy? It doesn't seem to be that type. The chaotic cube, although not a person, doesn't make old people happy, but at least it can serve as a fully automatic mahjong machine. This bug seems to be able to do nothing but scare people. Why not just get rid of it? Seemingly sensing Lin Chia's unfriendly gaze, the pug trembled slightly. After a moment it slowly spoke. "I can exchange information from the mist for you." Belcrand controlled the pug's vocal cords and continued, "You and the Great Xia have been isolated from the mist. You should know little about the situation overseas. I am a being born from the mist overseas, and what I know should be exactly what you lack." Upon hearing this, Lin Chia's eyes brightened slightly. Since the earth was shrouded in mist 100 years ago, all regions outside of Great Xia have become forbidden zones for living beings. Although Great Xia has never ceased exploring the mist over the past century, the information obtained has been scarce, and the situation of the mist has always been an unsolved mystery for them. Moreover, the divine kingdoms of the outer gods are also hidden within this mist. If it were before, Lin Chia naturally wouldn't have a way to obtain information about the mist, but now it's different. A being from the mist, capable of communicating with sufficient intelligence, is right in front of him. The moment this condition was proposed by Belcrand, Lin Chia knew he couldn't refuse this deal. Of course, he wouldn't simply reveal his intentions. If he didn't extract all the value from Belcrand, he would be wasting his position as the director. "Not enough," Lin Chia shook his head. "In addition to that, you also need to work for me and unconditionally agree to all my requests." The pug stared intently at Lin Chia. "Don't go too far. I, Belcrand, also have my dignity. Agreeing to these conditions is no different from being a dog." As soon as the words left its mouth, the pug fell silent. Lin Chia gave it a strange look, then turned to walk out of the cell. If you don't want to, then there's nothing more to discuss. I hope you can be a person in your next life. Oh no, you won't have a next life. Wait. The pug suddenly called out to stop Lin Chia. After much internal struggle, it finally gritted its teeth and opened its mouth. Woof. Chapter 412. The Holy Judgment Knight's Order. Make sure you read these contract terms carefully. We are a legitimate hospital and never engage in the unscrupulous practices of those heartless manufacturers, Lin Chia said, handing the contract to Bale Cland, shrugging his shoulders. The pug gritted its teeth, having read through the dense obligations listed for itself, then glanced at the empty section on the other side, so furious that its legs began to tremble. If you don't sign, I'll take it back, Lin Chia said, reaching for the contract. The pug's paw pressed firmly on the contract. To move. I'll sign. It picked up the pen from the ground with its mouth and awkwardly scrawled a string of English letters on the contract. The moment the name was completed, the entire contract turned to ash and vanished without a trace. A flash of light appeared on Bale Clan's body, revealing a small number on its right wing. 005. Once this number appeared, Bale Clan slumped on the pug's tongue like a fish out of water, devoid of dreams. Lin Chia nodded in satisfaction. Very good. With Bale Clan, the number of caregivers at the Divine Mental Hospital finally reached 5. Unfortunately, during the incident in Fengdu, the final blow to the Ant Queen was dealt by Jelon, so the Ant Queen's soul did not appear in the cell. He turned and walked out of the cell. Let's find a place to talk. As the man and dog exited the cell, Aju, who was carrying a bundle of clothes to the laundry room, saw Lin Chia and obediently stopped to bow. Good day, Director. Lin Chia smiled broadly and nodded. The pug rolled its eyes silently at Aju's bow. Aju noticed the pug's gaze and her expression grew increasingly strange. Director, I think this dog is looking down on me. Lin Chia seemed to remember something and smiled as he introduced Aju. By the way, this is our hospital's new caregiver. From now on, it will be under your care. Lin Chia kicked the pug beside him and the latter reluctantly stuck out its tongue, revealing a small golden bug on it. It's a golden fly? Aju suddenly realized. Director, what is its name? Lin Chia pondered for a moment. Its name is Bale Yi. Bale Clan. Bale Yi. Aju squatted down and gently patted the pug's head, showing a friendly smile. In that case, you'll be in charge of cleaning the restroom. Make sure to lick it very clean. Bale Yi's body trembled. It suddenly recalled the body of this dog, and a vague sense of foreboding crept into its mind. Let's go. Lin Chia, who had walked quite a distance, turned back and called for Bale Yi. Finally snapping out of its daze from Aju's scare, Bale Yi dejectedly followed Lin Chia into the break room. Lin Chia brewed himself a pot of tea and sat in the rocking chair, slowly speaking. So, where do you come from? What is the mist like? Bale Yi controlled the pug to sit by the door. After a moment of silence, it began to speak. I come from a distant city in the west, a place where both the climate and geography are completely different from Daxia. The weather is cold and damp, the architecture is ancient, mostly with pointed roofs and relatively low heights. The mist has long since suffocated all life in the city. In this city filled with corpses and ruins, only a few mysteries that emerged from the mist are still active. They are immune to the mist's effects and possess their own strange powers, incredibly strong. These are what you refer to as mysteries, and I am one of them. Lin Chia rested his chin on his hand, deep in thought. So, there are also mysteries in the mist? At first, Lin Chia thought that mysteries were only powerful beings within Daxiao, and that no life existed in the mist. Now it seemed his judgment was mistaken. Mysteries do not only appear in Daxia, they also descend beyond the mist, possessing the ability to walk freely within it. In other words, beyond the mist, it may have already transformed into a world uniquely dangerous to mysteries. That's right. The pug nodded and continued. After being born from the mist, I found some incomplete books in the ruins of the broken city and spent time learning the local language, which is a phonetic script completely different from your Daxia language and relatively easy to learn. Once I mastered this script, I began to explore further into broader areas. From some materials and signposts, I learned the name of this city. The pug paused for a moment before slowly continuing. 100 years ago, this city was called Edinburgh. Edinburgh. Lin Chia frowned slightly upon hearing this name as if trying hard to recall something. That sounds familiar. It seems to be a city from a country that fell 100 years ago. During training camp, the instructors had taught some foreign history from 100 years ago, mainly to facilitate discussions about foreign myths, without delving deeply into the cities themselves. This city was one of the cities of a country called England, the pug continued. After leaving Edinburgh, I went to cities called Liverpool, Leeds, Oxford, and Manchester, which, like Edinburgh, were left with nothing but ruins. Indeed, the countries that were shrouded in mist 100 years ago have all fallen. Lin Chia's brow furrowed slightly as he looked at the pug. Besides ruins and mysteries, is there anything else in the mist? There is. The pug opened its mouth, speaking with certainty. There are also people. People. Lin Chia was taken aback, his expression changing slightly. He stood up from the rocking chair, crouched down in front of the pug and spoke seriously. Are you saying there are still living people in the mist? Although they are extremely few, they do exist, the pug replied slowly. Because I almost died at their hands. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed. You, a sea realm mystery, almost died at their hands? Who are they? The pug's eyes reflected a hint of memory. When I explored a city called London, I found that the number of mysteries there was much lower than in other cities, and they were not very strong. The buildings were also better preserved. Just as I was curiously exploring this city, they suddenly appeared. They wore red and white full-body armor, wielded silver knightly lances, and rode heavy motorcycles, hunting down the weaker mysteries in the mist. They were very powerful, and their bodies shimmered with golden light, making it impossible for the mist to approach them. They called themselves the Holy Judgment Knights. Chapter 413. Escape. Holy Judgment Knights. Lin Chia muttered the name repeatedly. They used a strange method to discover my existence, and then they began to hunt me down, Belcran said, controlling the pug. Their methods of attack are completely different from your forbidden ruins. Their combat power seems to come from their armor, which grants them immense strength and speed, and even some special abilities like fire and thunder. The more red patterns there are on the armor, the stronger they are in comparison. The leader, even without relying on a heavy motorcycle, possesses astonishing speed. With every movement he can unleash terrifying holy light. If we were to measure him by your standards, he would at least be at the infinite level. Fortunately, my speed was just a bit faster than his. Once I escaped the confines of London, they stopped pursuing me and retreated back into the city. Since then, I have never set foot in London again, but instead traveled eastward, eventually discovering this mysterious land that is not shrouded in fog. Having shared all he knew, Belcrand closed his mouth. Lin Chia furrowed his brow and sat back in the rocking chair, lost in thought. I must say the information Belcrand provided was truly shocking. In the fog, there are actually humans surviving, and they possess mysterious powers that not only allow them to resist the fog but also pose a threat to the powerful mysteries. How did they survive? Where did that armor come from? Is it the favor of the gods? Aside from them, are there any other humans surviving in other countries? Do they also possess mysterious powers? The more Lin Chia thought about it, the more he felt that the Great Xia's understanding of the fog was far too limited. The secrets hidden in this area, known as the Forbidden Zone of Life, are far more complex than anyone imagines. I've told you everything I know, the pug said softly. Can I propose one more condition? Lin Chia glanced at it. What is it? Can I change jobs? I don't want to clean the toilets. The pug's eyes were filled with humility. Lin Chia smiled kindly. No, you can't. Ahem ahem. On a desolate, deserted coastline, a drenched fat man staggered, stepping on the small, sharp rocks as he slowly made his way to the shore. Salty seawater dripped from his hair onto the ground. His face was pale, his lips devoid of color, and his bloodshot eyes uncontrollably closed, his pupils dilated as if he were about to faint at any moment. Ugh. He suddenly knelt on the rocks, bowed his head and vomited a large amount of seawater, then began to cough violently. Damn it. Luckily I'm tough. Bai Li Pang Pang knelt on the ground for a long time before standing up again from the rocks, weakly muttering to himself. There are plenty of people who want to kill me. After all these years, am I not still alive and kicking? Anyone who wants to stop me from returning to Guangshan has no chance. With that, Bai Li Pangpang took another step, weakly heading toward the road beside the coast. Before the missile struck the plane, Bai Li Pangpang had sensed something was wrong with the alcohol. Fortunately, he had undergone professional training from the night watchman during boot camp, and since he had only taken a sip he could barely maintain his consciousness. Just then the uniformed beauty Xiao Su took out a forbidden item from under the counter and decisively launched an attack on him. In his hazy state, Bai Li Pangpang knew he was no match for her. In a split second he chose to use the Wind Thunder Scroll to blast open the cabin door and leaped from the plane. As soon as he jumped out he saw a missile flying toward him from a distance, striking the private plane above. At the moment the fuselage exploded along with the missile, Bai Li Pangpang was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat. If he had jumped a moment slower he would have been blown to pieces along with the plane. As he fell from the sky, Bai Li Pangpang released the radiant light, slowing his descent while controlling his direction, guiding himself into the sea near the land. He fought against the effects of the drug, swimming for nearly 20 minutes before finally reaching the shore. Near the point of exhaustion, Bai Li Pangpang reached the roadside, looked around and plopped down onto the ground. This place was nothing like the bustling golden coast of Honglian City. He couldn't see a single person. Surrounding him were rolling hills, and the only road along the coast wound through the hills, stretching endlessly into the distance. The sun was setting. The dimming sunlight from the sea grew darker, and Bai Li Pangpang sat on the asphalt road with his back to the ocean, leaning against the railing, his head lowered as if deep in thought. This attack was different from the past. The attackers not only knew his time and route back to Guangshan with precision, but they also managed to plant an insider on the plane and even deployed missiles to intercept it. No, upon closer inspection he had never seen that plane before. It was likely part of the attackers' plan. But how did the attackers perfectly insert these elements into his itinerary? Why hadn't the Bai Li family made any noise as if nothing had happened, even with the crew and the plane being swapped out? At that moment Bai Li Pangpang recalled what the private flight attendant Xiao Su had said. This is young Master Jing's plane. The profits young Master Jing generates for the group are worth much more than a private plane. We can't let you return to Guangshan alive. Returning to Guangshan. The birthday banquet. Young Master Jing. Bai Li Jing. After a long while Bai Li Pangpang narrowed his eyes slightly. Is it you? Beep beep. Under the dim sky, on the other side of the road, a blue Chevrolet with its high beams on was speeding toward him. Bai Li Pangpang's eyes lit up. He struggled to stand up and walked to the center of the road, waving his arms vigorously. Under his interception the car slowly came to a stop in front of him. Are you crazy? The young man in the driver's seat rolled down the window, looking displeased as he shouted at Bai Li Pangpang in front of the car. Bai Li Pangpang walked expressionlessly to the side of the car, opened the door and directly sat in the passenger seat. The young man stared blankly at this scene and after a moment he finally reacted. Who the hell are you? Who told you to get in my car? Bai Li Pangpang glanced at him, pulled out a thick wad of cash from his pocket, and tossed it onto the driver's seat, speaking lightly. Drive. Chapter 414. 800 Miles of Pursuit. The night deepened. A blue Chevrolet drove along the winding road, its bright headlights cutting through the darkness ahead, heading straight south. Hey brother, what's going on with you? The man in the driver's seat chattered. You don't look like someone short on cash, so why are you soaked like you just crawled out of the ocean? Got into some trouble? Bai Li Pangpang lowered his head, fiddling with his phone that had been ruined by seawater and casually replied, something like that. Hey, you're young, it's normal to be hot-blooded. I used to mess around when I was young too, got into my fair share of fights. But I advise you, if you can't handle it, just call the police. The man said earnestly, after all, we live in a society governed by law now. The old gangster ways, they're outdated. Bai Li Pangpang's mouth twitched slightly as he rolled down the window and tossed the ruined phone out. Can I borrow your phone? Sure. The man handed his phone to Bai Li Pangpang, who took it, opened the dialer, but his finger hovered in midair. Bai Li Pangpang stared at the dial pad, falling into silence. Lin Chiye's phone had been specially processed by the Night Watchers, and unless it was a call from an insider of the Night Watchers, all other incoming numbers would be automatically blocked. This meant he couldn't contact Lin Chiye with this phone at all. And that kid Chow Yuan didn't have a phone, and it seemed that Qingyu didn't either. not to mention the recently dug-up Jialan. He couldn't reach any of them. But aside from Lin Qiyi and the others, who else could he contact? His assistant? The driver? The maid? The butler? If this was all orchestrated by Li Jing, he must have tapped their phones long ago. Calling them would be like walking into a trap. It was possible that even his dad's phone had been tampered with. If it was someone else, they might not be able to pull all this off, but Li Jing was a different story. After all, a good portion of the Li group was under his control. Saying he had eyes everywhere wouldn't be an exaggeration. What's wrong? Don't know who to call. The man chuckled. If all else fails, just call 110. I can't call the police. Li Pang shook his head decisively. He knew best how powerful the Li family was. There were definitely insiders in the police. If he called, the next second news of him still being alive and his location would end up on Li Jing's desk. Though Li Pang seemed simple-minded, he wasn't foolish. In fact, in a certain sense he was quite clever. He just didn't want to think too hard when surrounded by too many smart people. But now he had lost the support of his teammates and had to rely on his own strength to safely return to Guangshan. Seeing Li Pang's firm refusal to call the police, the man was slightly taken aback. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at Li Pang through the mirror, and his expression gradually turned strange. This kid, could he be a fugitive? Recalling Li Pang's waterlogged appearance and the stack of 100 yuan bills he had casually pulled from his pocket, the man suddenly felt he had uncovered the truth. He swallowed hard and his hand gripping the steering wheel began to sweat. By the way, where are we? Pull up the map for me to see. Li Pang leaned closer to the car's smart control panel and began zooming in on the map. The man's body tensed and he quickly brought up the map, his voice trembling as he spoke. Little brother. Oh no, big brother, you can take this money back, I don't want it. While driving, the man shakily extended the cash in his hand toward Li Pang. Li Pang noted the map, casting a suspicious glance at the man. Just as he was about to say something, a multitude of glaring lights appeared on the road ahead. He saw police cars blocking the center of the road, their blue and red lights flashing, bright headlights tearing through the deep night, dazzling people's eyes. In front of these police cars, several traffic officers in fluorescent vests were knocking on the windows of every passing vehicle. What's going on up ahead? Li Pang frowned and asked. I don't know. It seems like they're checking for drunk driving? The man replied, puzzled. It's strange. Why are they suddenly checking for drunk driving today? Li Pang turned his head. Don't they check it regularly? They don't check. I've been driving this road for years and have never seen anyone checking for drunk driving here. The man said confidently. Li Pang stared at the traffic officers not far away and suddenly said, pull over. Huh. I said pull over. Oh. The Chevrolet stopped at a side road and without saying a word, Li Pang opened the car door, glanced at the drunk driving checkpoint in the distance, climbed over the barrier and swiftly disappeared into the woods by the roadside. The man witnessing this scene gaped, his suspicions confirmed. This kid was definitely a wanted criminal. Otherwise, why would he avoid the police? The man hesitated in the car for a moment, then gritted his teeth and pressed the gas pedal, speeding toward the drunk driving checkpoint. I want to report something. The man rolled down the window and shouted loudly ahead. In the woods on the hillside. Using the dim moonlight, Li Pang quickly navigated through the trees, running straight toward the southeast. He could almost confirm that the suddenly appeared drunk driving checkpoints ahead were set up to find him. Most likely, the attackers realized he hadn't perished in the plane crash and deduced his possible landing area based on the plane's flight path. And next to the coastline, there was only this one road running north and south. With a little reasoning, it wasn't hard to determine his possible escape route. As long as checkpoints were set up at the intersections of the two directions, there was a good chance they could find him. Sure enough, it's the Li family, Li Pang muttered to himself. Aside from the Li family, he couldn't think of anyone else with such power to mobilize the police to search for him. Fortunately, he had memorized the map and knew the general location of Guangshan City. However, it was still over 200 kilometers away from here. Relying solely on his legs wouldn't work. He had to find another way closer to Guangshan City. Just as Li Pang was pondering while moving through the woods, 3 figures with golden light on their feet suddenly swept across the sky above him. Immediately after, several beams of blinding flashlight beams fell from the sky, focusing on Bai Li Pang Pang. Little young master, why are you running around so messily in the woods at this late hour? A man standing on a miniature version of the Yao Guang looked down at Bai Li Pang Pang in the woods, a cold smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 415. The Forbidden Artifact of Rebellion. Imitation version of Yao Guang. Bai Li Pang Pang squinted slightly at the golden light beneath the feet of the three people. People from the Bai Li family? What's wrong, young master? Don't you recognize me? The man smiled and spoke. Years ago I was your attendant. Every time you went to the high-end club, I stood guard behind that stone lion on the right side of the entrance. Bai Li Pang Pang thought for a moment and replied honestly, I have too many attendants. Why should I remember you? The man. As members of the Bai Li family, you know who I am, yet you dare to fly above me? Bai Li Pang Pang's expression gradually darkened. Get down here. Upon hearing this, the three people standing on the imitation Yao Guang changed their expressions slightly. Another woman sneered and said, Young master, since we're so boldly appearing in front of you today, we have no intention of letting you leave this forest alive. Do you think we will obediently listen to you? Bai Li Pang Pang stared at them. Just the three of you think you can kill me? The three of us. Young master, you might be misunderstanding. The man's lips curled slightly. We are only responsible for tracking your whereabouts. The one who will take action is someone else. As his words fell, Bai Li Pang Pang seemed to sense something and suddenly turned his head. In the dim, swaying shadows of the trees, four figures slowly approached. When the moonlight, as white as frost, fell on their faces, Bai Li Pang Pang's pupils suddenly constricted. Earth, fire, wind, and water, four forbidden object users, we meet you, young master. The fire user looked into Bai Li Pang Pang's eyes and spoke calmly. You guys. Bai Li Pang Pang stared blankly at this scene, disbelief filling his eyes. How is this possible? You are my personal bodyguard team. Why do you want to kill me? Bai Li Pang Pang looked at the four familiar faces, his face turning pale. His fingernails dug deeply into his flesh, and amidst the intense pain he realized that everything before him was not an illusion. But he couldn't understand. These four forbidden object users of earth, fire, wind, and water were directly under his command. Throughout his life he had faced hundreds of assassination attempts, and more than half of them had been resolved by these four. Without them he would have died in one of those attacks long ago. When he was hunted by the followers in the ancient god church in Songnan, it was also these four forbidden object users who risked their lives to fight the enemies, allowing him and Chao Yuan, Shin Qingzhu and others to escape safely. In Bai Li Pang Pang's eyes, these four were his protective umbrella as he grew up, respected seniors he had always admired. But now they actually wanted to kill him. Sorry, young master. The water user slowly closed her eyes, seemingly unwilling to look directly at Bai Li Pang Pang. We cannot let you return to Guangshan alive. Boom. A violent hurricane swept through the forest, pushing Bai Li Pang Pang back several steps. He raised his hand to shield his face, frowning as he stared at the four people before him, filled with anger and confusion. Why won't you let me return to Guangshan? The resentment that had built up in Bai Li Pang Pang's heart ignited like a powder keg. He opened his mouth and shouted against the raging wind, I just want to go back to celebrate my dad's birthday. If Bai Li Jing wants the position of the head of the Bai Li family so badly, I'll just give it to him. What company, group, family, business? Who manages it? I don't care at all. I don't understand these things and I don't want to understand them. Why does he have to put me to death? Does he not even have the courage to stand in front of me and talk to me face to face? Only dares to use these despicable means. Bai Li Pang Pang's angry voice mixed with the howling wind, while opposite him the four forbidden object users remained silent. The fire user's fingertips ignited with a dazzling flame, and under the sweep of the hurricane, it quickly merged into a fiery tornado, surging toward Bai Li Pang Pang with terrifying heat. Bai Li Pang Pang gritted his teeth, pulling out the wind thunder scroll from his pocket, and forcefully waved it against the fiery tornado. The wind mixed with thunder collided with the fiery tornado, knocking down nearby trees. At the same time, a pair of arms suddenly burst from the ground beneath Bai Li Pang Pang, gripping his ankles tightly. Bai Li Pang Pang furrowed his brows. Just as he was about to make a move, a graceful figure appeared before him. The water user's fingertips traced a line, and fine water droplets condensed from the air, forming two thin water blades that sliced directly toward Bai Li Pongpong's neck. Bai Li Pongpong's pupils constricted, and he skillfully twisted to the side, the thin water blades barely grazing his nose. Then, a dazzling golden light erupted from his chest, coalescing into a golden flying sword that slashed toward the water user. The water user stepped back several paces to avoid the strike, while the earth user, hidden underground, appeared like a ghost, forming hand seals as the ground around them trembled violently, followed by spikes shooting up from the earth. Rise! Bai Li Pangpang quickly retracted the golden flying sword, stepping on it to evade all the spikes and shot straight toward the sky. Bai Li Pangpang knew better than anyone how strong the combined power of the four forbidden object users was, and they were fully aware of what forbidden objects he possessed. They must have already devised countermeasures. Fighting them in this terrain would only lead to death. Just as Bai Li Pangpang soared halfway into the air, the three people standing on the imitation Yaoguang quickly surrounded him. "Where are you going, young master?" The man sneered, drawing a silver staff from his back. The other two did the same, their feet on the imitation Yaoguang, closely following Bai Li Pangpang. Dense arcs of electricity erupted from the silver staffs, linking together to form a triangular electric net. Imitation of the Thunder God Pillar? They've even managed to create this now. Upon seeing the three iron rods crackling with lightning, Bai Li Pangpang immediately thought of the silver pillars from the medium team, and his expression turned grim. "Young master, you've been away from home for too long. You have no idea how powerful the Bai Li family has become now." The woman gripped the silver staff and suddenly swung it. The three electric rods easily sliced through the air, shooting straight toward Bai Li Pangpang. Relying on his combat instincts, Bai Li Pangpang barely dodged two of the rods but was struck by the connecting lightning. Bai Li Pangpang let out a muffled groan, his muscles paralyzed, and he uncontrollably began to fall. Damn it! As Bai Li Pangpang fell, he glanced back at the four forbidden object users pursuing him, a look of unwillingness flashing in his eyes. At that moment, in the forest below where he was falling, a man wearing a white fox mask let out a soft gasp, looking up at the sky, a strange expression appearing on his masked face.